I was hung from the gate tower of the city wall, as the rebel leader arrogantly shouted to my husband, "Young prince, choose one, your old flame or your lawful wife." Beside me, Lin Jiao said with righteous indignation, "Don't worry about me, brother Xian, storm the city quickly, and tell the crown prince I'll marry him in my next life." 2 arrows tore through the air, and the rebel holding Lin Jiao fell instantly. I quietly watched as Lu Xian and the crown prince galloped toward us, all crowding around Lin Jiao. No one noticed that the ropes binding me had already been cut. I died from the fall. A large pool of blood splattered beneath me. Just before I closed my eyes, I heard Lu Xian's anguished roar, "Yao Yao." I find it ridiculous that after giving everything for him, he can still call my name at the end, as a poisonous supporting female lead. I suppose that's about worth it. I was originally an ordinary girl in the 21st century, but after a car accident I reborn into a villainous supporting female lead in a romance novel. I treasure my life. Although my new identity is a much-loved royal princess and the younger sister of the male lead's crown prince, I have always remembered the fate of the female lead who sulked until the end and died on a white silk ribbon. Therefore I tread carefully in every way, striving to be a model of virtue in ancient times. In theory I should have been able to reach a perfect ending, but the mistake was that I shouldn't have laid a finger on the deep affection that belongs only to the female lead from the male second lead. In the end I died. The rebellion forces the crown prince and Lu Xian to choose between me and the female lead Lin Jiao. One is my older brother, the other is my husband. They both rushed to the side of the female lead. I died in a very ugly way, and before dying I had to watch both my lover and my brother gather around the female lead. Chapter 2. I was reborn again, this time into the body of a young girl not yet of age. By now, my so-called cheap elder brother, the crown prince, had already been sitting securely on the throne as the emperor for 10 years. It turned out I had been dead for a decade. For others, 10 years might feel like a long time, but to me, it felt like yesterday. The sensation of falling from the city wall, my mouth and nose filled with blood, still clings to me. Since then, I have never dared to climb high places again. My new identity is Shen Yanxing, orphaned. Since childhood, I was raised by my mother who supported us, and this body also has an older brother, a brother who is unwaveringly a feminist for his sister. The three of us lived a warm, small-town life until I saved up enough money selling food for my brother to travel to the capital for the imperial examination. "What, you want to take me and Yanxing to the capital with you, and never come back?" When my brother proposed this, mother was astonished beyond measure. "Daughter, your son is confident that he will pass this year's imperial examinations and earn a place on the roster. Besides, our Shen family originally hails from the capital, and our ancestral home is still there." Brother settled mother into a chair and carefully laid out his plans. "Father died at the hands of the rebels back then. Son knows mother fears that being there will stir up painful memories, but our roots are in the capital. Don't you want to burn some paper offerings at father's grave during Qingming festival? Moreover, sister is growing more beautiful by the day. This place is remote and lawless. The county magistrate has hinted several times about taking her as a concubine. I, Shen Huaijin, have studied so hard precisely so I can shoulder the burden of protecting you and sister. My sister will never be anyone's lesser wife. Once I have achieved some scholarly honor, I will find her a fine young man. We must move as soon as possible and leave this filthy place behind." Mother was moved by this. Just as in ancient times Mengmu moved 3 times, today the Shen family brings their whole household to the capital in the evening. Lying with mother in the cabin, listening to the water splashing against the hull, I cannot fall asleep for a long time. In 3 days we will reach the capital. With my current status, I probably won't have much chance to come into contact with old acquaintances again. Right, if that is the case, it would be best. Chapter 3. Life in the capital is not easy. After cleaning the old home and adding a few pieces of furniture, our family awkwardly found that we were so poor there was only a single quilt left. Ignoring that he was about to face the imperial examination and needed to study hard, my elder brother took on some copying work. At night he even gave up the only quilt to me and my mother, sleeping in his clothes. I have a body that is susceptible to cold, And at night my mother always tucks my feet into her chest to warm me. Life for a family of 3, though poor, is still happy. Today the weather is exceptionally good, and I carefully lift the cloth covering the wooden tub and glimpse the pale green sprouts, and I cannot help but let out a long sigh of relief. At last I have not let down the soybean that my elder brother exchanged 3 days of copying for. All 5 wooden tubs have produced soybean sprouts. Once we sell them all, my brother will no longer need to copy books and can study for the examinations with peace of mind. I was so caught up in my tasks that I didn't even notice my brother approaching. Only when I looked up did I realize there was already a hairpin in my hair. I felt the texture of the hairpin. It wasn't even 1/10 as fine as the ones I had given to the lowest maids in my past life. But the handsome young man under the sunlight smiled brightly. Nianxing, your brother may not have the means now to buy you fine jewelry, but I won't be useless forever. I stood frozen, watching his retreating back. As the scenes of 2 different lifetimes, past and present, intertwined in my mind. In the 21st century, I was an orphan, but then I suddenly found myself reborn as a princess with both parents and an elder brother still alive, my heart overflowing with joy. Though I knew my original self was a wicked supporting character, I firmly believed that as long as I avoided trouble, I would live out my days in peace. The original story misled me. I only knew that the original body was a princess spoiled, rotten by the royal family, surely deeply loved by her family. What I never considered was that the royal court knows no sentiment, only the supremacy of interest. In my previous life, I shared the same mother as the crown prince, both born of the empress, but the then dowager empress disliked the empress, so she took me into her care. Without her permission, the empress was not allowed to see me. Thus, still an infant, I became a pawn in the struggle for power between the 2 most powerful women in the realm, the Empress Dowager and the Empress. On the surface, the Empress granted me everything I asked for, but there was always a rift between us. She feared I might belong to the Dowager Empress's camp. The Emperor's heart holds only the princes. My elder sisters have all been married far away beyond the frontier for peace alliances. If I were not the legitimate princess, I fear I would not have escaped the same fate. Crown Prince brother resents me for deepening the rift between the Empress and the Dowager Empress, and has never shown me a kind expression. As for Lu Shuren, never mind, I won't think of him. I gently touch my hair. Mother is stitching the sole of a shoe beneath the window. The size is mine. The kinship I longed for in 2 lifetimes has finally come to a perfect fulfillment in this life. Chapter 4. More than a month in the capital. I've managed to save up some silver through a small business, though not much. It's enough for the 3 of us to get through the hard winter. Brother no longer has to stay up late with bloodshot eyes copying books for others, and mother can lessen some embroidery work too. That day, as usual, I set up my stall next to the auntie selling baked taro. I'm thin-skinned and had been pushed around and undercut quite a bit when I first started doing business, but she was the one who stood up for me. You're a grown adult, yet you keep picking on a young girl. If you've got the guts, come and argue with me. Trying to take advantage just because she's young. Don't you have a sister or daughter at home? The auntie was fierce-tongued and loud-voiced. Her words sent the man fleeing in disgrace. Afterwards, I bowed to her to express my gratitude, and she laughed heartily. When I was young and running a stall to support my family, I was thin-skinned and got bullied plenty. Once, I was lucky enough to have the princess come to my rescue, and you know, your bow really does look like that of a young lady from the princess's household. I was taken aback, looking at this quick and capable woman before me. A strikingly similar yet much younger face vaguely emerged in my mind. Back then, I had just married Lu Xian. His heart was still set on the female lead, so he rarely treated me with any kindness. He is like a hedgehog. I want to embrace him, but he curls into a ball and turns all his spines toward me. But I didn't even like him before the marriage. It was the crown prince who told me that he is surrounded by wolves eyeing his throne, and that the Empress Dowager has always disapproved of our mother. I had to marry into the Lu family, who hold military power. In order to protect both him and our mother's position before the wedding, I specifically asked Lu Xian, Marquis Lu, let me hear a word from your heart. Do you still carry a lingering flame for someone from the past? If so, I will explain it to His Majesty myself. rest assured, I will say that I am the one unwilling to marry you." Spring apricot blossoms fell all over his shoulders, and the young man raised an eyebrow with unrestrained charm. I admit, I was a little bewitched by his good looks at the time. After all, he was the handsome second male lead in the novel. "Your Highness, this subject will only treat his own wife well, protecting her peace and bestowing upon her honor and favor. As for anyone from the past, they are but fleeting clouds and smoke. Lu Xian is a good actor, but unfortunately, after lifting my veil on our wedding day, he was unwilling to continue playing along with me. I married the princess to reassure everyone. Princess, from now on let us treat each other with respect and distance." He turned around and went to the study to rest. He never stayed the night with me, not even once before my death. Back then I was stubborn, thinking that if I gave and received in kind, I would be rewarded. As long as I was kind to others, others would be kind to me. Additionally, being cooped up at the Lu residence made me restless, so I often wandered about with maids outside. Whenever I saw some trinket, I always sought to bring it back for Lu Xian: grasshoppers woven from straw, cricket cages made of bamboo, and a small dough figurine in my own likeness. Looking back now, it's as if heaven and earth swapped places. I've done just about every kind of thing a man would do. One day, sitting in a horse-drawn carriage, I lifted the curtain to take in the ancient street scene when I suddenly heard a young woman crying, "Uncle, at this price, I won't even make back my costs. I'm the only one in my family earning money right now. My father just broke his leg. Please don't make things harder for me." I summoned a maid to inquire about the situation. "Your Highness, some scoundrels are bullying that young girl. They claim to be buying taro, but it's nothing short of robbery." The girl's crying made my heart ache, so I had a guard stand up for her. Later, she insisted on seeing me to express her gratitude. When I lifted the carriage curtain, I saw a small face covered in tears and snot, holding 2 taros in her hands. I couldn't help but let out a chuckle. "Little girl, let me tell you, you can't do business like this. If others see you as weak, they'll take advantage of you. You need to toughen up." I reached out and took the taro from her hand, then had a maidservant give her 10 taels of silver. She shook her head repeatedly in panic, but I couldn't bear to see her pitiful state, so I simply pressed the silver into her arms, by willingly spending 10 taels of silver to buy your taro. I'm proving that your taro is worth the price. After all, a filial daughter is rare. You can even tell people that Princess Fuan praised your taro for being so delicious that I was willing to pay 10 taels for it. 10 years passed like a dream. The once timid little girl had grown able to protect me in return. Only old acquaintances meet but do not recognize each other. Chapter 5. Business had not yet opened when suddenly a group of palace guards arrived. They drove us street vendors to the sides of the street like sheepdogs. His Majesty, returning from the outskirts to the palace. The common folk along the street may not look directly at His Majesty's face. "Everyone, bow your heads and kowtow." I stood stupidly, and as the guard was about to get angry, the old lady pulled me down with a shove. I knelt on the ground, and the old lady nearby rolled her eyes and muttered softly, "If you don't cherish life while you live, you cry every day after you die, and every year you rush to the outskirts of the capital to cry. Don't dirty the cycle of our noble beings. Even ghosts will roll their eyes when they hear their cries, like countless beings." I devoutly pressed my forehead to the ground. The passing carriages and horses were too flashy, stirring up a cloud of dust that blinded my eyes. Otherwise, how could my vision be so hazy? A sudden upheaval, a rain of arrows came pelting down. The old woman, flustered, reached for my hand, but was swept away by the panicked crowd. She had turned back into that frightened little girl. Nian Sheng, find somewhere to hide, but the crowd had already pushed me into the encirclement where the assassins were closing in on the royal family. I crawled forward, holding my head, hoping to get a glimmer of life as I neared the royal carriage surrounded by guards on all sides. I haven't seen my elder brother graduate yet, and I don't know if the winter shoes my mother started making yesterday will fit my feet. If I die, they will surely be sad. I was about to crawl forward, just one step away, when a feather arrow glinting with cold light and with the force of a breaking thunder struck firmly in front of me. A cold, emotionless male voice rang out, as if talking to an ant, The commoners may not approach the holy relic. My heart suddenly tightened. In my previous life, that voice always spat out various icy polite words at me. I looked up, and Lucian's eyes were fixed on me like a hunter falcon staring at its prey. Behind him was a phoenix-adorned carriage with carved phoenixes. At its four corners, an honor reserved for the Empress's ceremonial procession. Lucian was still protecting Lin Jiao's side. As always, I felt a gust of wind behind me. Turning around, the assassin's blade was already coming straight at my face. Chapter 6, General Lu, save me. I suppose I have grown attached to this world, and I end up asking Lucian for help. He acted decisively as well. The red tassel spear cut off a strand of my hair with a gust of wind. Hot blood sprayed across my face. And the ruthless assassin was beheaded and dismembered in an instant. He lunged the spear away in a whirlwind, and before I could celebrate my narrow escape from death, the red tassel spear pressed against my forehead. I faced him through a patch of crimson, and his hand trembled as the imposing red tassel rattled in the wind. His gaze was restrained and patient, his eyes reddened, as if baring his teeth and biting back words. Speak, why do you summon me, General? I was puzzled for a moment, then I understood. The late Duke Angua unfortunately passed away during the rebellion 10 years ago. Now, everyone refers to Lucian as Duke Angua. It's just a title. Why did he react so strongly? Never mind, don't get tangled up with him, just brush it off. I am but an ignorant country girl. In the village operas, there are always actors playing young officials who are addressed as generals, so I thought it was a respectful way to address a noble official like you. My lord, if I have offended you, please spare my life. I am just a simple country girl who knows no better. With a terrified expression on my face, I kowtowed on the ground, my head covered in blood, and even forced out a few tears. I knew I must have looked utterly pathetic at that moment. His face showed suspicion. He said nothing, and he just watched me cry quietly. In a previous life I also cried in front of him. I couldn't bear his indifference and the gazes from people in the residence, some sympathetic, some mocking, and I cried, questioning him whether I deserved to be the sacrificial lamb in the love triangle of him, Lin Jiao, and the Crown Prince, since the Crown Prince and Lin Jiao have already pledged themselves, and the Lu family stands behind the future Emperor and Empress. Why not release me? Let us part ways with dignity. He refused me expressionlessly. Princess, you are the most esteemed mistress of the Lu household. Other than not being able to give you love, I will provide you with anything you ask. For, if we separate, the Crown Prince and Yao Yao will surely be upset and feel guilty over our situation. I hope you will understand and not become a burden to others. I wish for the two of them to always remain harmonious and happy. I slapped him right then and there, crying until my voice gave out. But I am a human being, I am not a cold porcelain ornament. I want to be loved. My parents and brothers don't love me. And you, my husband, don't love me either. Why won't any of you stop to think that I am a person of flesh and blood? Tell me, even a stray dog has its mother and littermates to groom its fur. What about me? What about me? What did Lu Xuan do at that moment? Under my stunned gaze, he pressed a dagger into my hand. If the princess harbors resentment, she might as well use this dagger to slice off my flesh piece by piece to vent her anger. I resisted and stepped back repeatedly, the dagger falling to the ground. He left me with the words, "Since you are unwilling, say no more of these things, they give me a headache," then turned and headed back to the study. Chapter 7, Report to the Duke. The assassins have all been captured and eliminated. His Majesty fears for the safety of the Dowager Empress, the princes, and the princesses, and orders you to lead your men back along the same route to stand guard and protect them. The arrival of a messenger soldier broke the stalemate. He withdrew his spear, turned, and mounted his warhorse. Before the horse turned away, he cast one last deep look at me, then rode off into the distance. I remained kneeling like that until the entire procession had faded from view before daring to rise. As I turned, I fell into a warm embrace. It was my brother. He focused intently on wiping the blood from my face with a handkerchief, then carefully parted my hair layer by layer to examine the wound. The pulling tightened my scalp, and the pain made me wince. "Bro, I'm fine. That's the assassin's blood." He breathed a sigh of relief. Upon hearing this, "Sis, You absolutely cannot get into trouble again. Get into trouble again. I was puzzled and couldn't help but ask for the first time. My brother's usually composed face showed a trace of panic. What I mean is, father is already gone, if anything happens to you. Wouldn't mother cry her eyes out? My brother's words made me feel truly cherished. I smiled and reassured him. Don't worry, brother, your sister is clever and quick on her feet. Who knew? His face suddenly darkened, and he gave me a bang on the head. Nonsense, you've always been careless and have poor eyesight. I worry that you'll be knocked over by pedestrians when you're walking on the road. I clutched my head, circling around him, begging for mercy. Auntie Tuberhead saved me from fire and water again. Brother and sister, please stop making trouble. I still have hot coals burning here. Quickly heat some water to wash up and go home, or your mother will be scared to death if she sees you in this state. I just noticed that my elder brother's gown was covered in dirt, as if he had fallen to the ground and picked it up, and his hairpin was a bit disheveled. The sky, after the turmoil, was unusually quiet and blue at this moment, and I couldn't help but sigh in my heart. It's really good that I didn't encounter any trouble. Auntie Yamato can still invite us to wash up with hot water, and my elder brother will come to take me home. Chapter 8. Spring arrived in the blink of an eye, and my brother's imperial exam was fast approaching. Mother had heard that the Chingen temple on the outskirts of the capital was remarkably efficacious, so she'd gone early to secure a place and queue up. Today, our turn finally came. The two of us packed our things first thing in the morning, ready to spend 3 days in fasting and prayer at the temple to pray for my brother's good fortune. The Chingen temple is vast, solemn, and majestic. I'd heard that even the royal family had come here recently to offer prayers, kneeling before the countless gods and Buddhas. I bowed my head in devotion, quietly voicing the hopes in my heart. First, thank the flower for its day of rebloom. Second, thank fate that all regrets find their mend. Third, wish that family's path knows no gloom. After finishing my prayers to the gods and Buddhas, I rose to find that mother had disappeared. She had likely gone to hang the festive prize, so I followed after her and arrived at the lush, sprawling banyan tree in the central courtyard. My mother was on tiptoe, straining to stretch her arms as she tossed a red silk ribbon toward the highest branch of the banyan tree, all the while calling out, "May the Bodhisattva bless my child with a life of safety and grant all that he desires." I was about to step forward and help her, amused by the sight, when another woman beneath the tree startled me so much that I froze in my tracks. The woman had fair skin and an aristocratic air, and she was imitating my mother by tossing a red silk ribbon into the tree. Her side was surrounded by lavishly dressed maidservants and pale, beardless eunuchs. That was the mother from my previous life, or perhaps now I should address her as the Empress Dowager. My mother was utterly unaware that the woman she was joking with was anything out of the ordinary, unwilling to let them grow too close. I quickly stepped forward and took her arm. "Mother, running off and leaving your daughter to search so hard for you. Come, let's go eat. I hear the vegetarian meals at this temple are exceptionally good." The mother, shy yet somewhat proud, introduced to the person across from her. "This is my gluttonous daughter, Nian Sheng. Please don't be amused, she only acts so spoiled in front of me and her brother. Normally, she's the one who single-handedly supports half of this family." The Empress Dowager looked momentarily dazed, then suddenly broke into a radiant smile. "Daughters are wonderful. My Yarrow Yarrow is also very good. She listens to everything her brother and I say, and has never caused me a moment of worry. When I had conflicts with my mother-in-law, Yarrow Yarrow would kneel in punishment for me several times. When her brother complained that the red ink paste wasn't good to use, she drew out a whole pond's worth of lotus silk to make him a new batch, covering her hands with small cuts. Oh my, what a fine young lady. How old is she? Surely she must be married by now. A good girl like her husband must cherish her to no end." Mother grew animated at the mention of children, but failed to notice the sudden ferocious look on the Empress Dowager's face. Sensing something wrong, I promptly pulled mother aside and away from the Empress Dowager. The palace maids and eunuchs all broke into a panic, shouting, "Quick, go summon the masters." Chapter 9. The dignified and noble elderly lady suddenly appeared as if she were insane, tearing all of her hair out and squeezing her neck with extreme pain. That old poisonous woman has ruined my daughter and me. My Yaro Yaro was not yet 20 when she died. It was my foolishness. I should not have been driven apart by that poisonous old woman. The Empress Dowager let out a sorrowful cry, like a tigress whose cub has just been stolen. She kept calling out the name from my previous life, so full of grief and regret. But at this moment, my only concern was for the timid, ordinary woman beside me. She is my mother. I'm so sorry. Yao Yao, why have you never appeared in your mother's dreams all these years? I couldn't even find a single portrait of you. Oh, woo woo, ha 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 ha. The Empress Dowager suddenly burst into laughter, rushed to my side, and seized my arm with great force. I knew without looking that my arm must already be bruised. You are my Yao Yao, aren't you? The monk said Yao Yao is right here. But her heart is too broken to acknowledge me. She pressed me into her embrace, holding me so tightly that I couldn't break free. It seemed she wanted to pour all the hugs she owed from a past life into this one moment. Yao Yao, listen to your mother. I avenged you. I took Lin Jiao's child and raised them as my own, and now neither of them recognizes their real mother. Ha ha ha. I even fed Lu Shuren a sterilization potion. He'll have to remain a widower for you for the rest of his life. Woo woo. That old poisonous woman is ruthless. She only told me after you died that you never did anything for her. You vicious old woman, you've destroyed me completely. I felt a bit dizzy, probably from lack of oxygen. Mother anxiously rushed forward to pull at the Empress Dowager, but was restrained by the eunuchs and maids nearby. How dare you? Don't harm our lady. Mother's voice was choked with panic. This noble person, please let go quickly. My daughter is about to be suffocated. She is my daughter. You've got the wrong person. I felt the Empress Dowager tighten her grip even more, and she snarled viciously. Nonsense. She is my Yao Yao, my daughter. Chapter 10, Amitabha, a chant of Buddhist sutras echoed, and the Empress Dowager suddenly softened, and a young concubine deftly caught her as she toppled, without control. Mother hurried forward in a panic and pulled me into her embrace. It's because mother is not good. Mother let Nyan Sheng suffer injustice. I quietly leaned against mother's thin shoulder and shook my head silently. After finishing her mourning, mother finally remembered to thank the master who had saved me. We truly owe it all to you, master, my daughter, and I have no way to repay your kindness. The venerable monk nodded slightly to mother and then fell silent. Beside him stood a tall and upright man, Lu Xian. Both of them stared intently at me, as if searching for traces of someone else through me. Thinking of the Empress Dowager's words just now, I was startled. I have personally experienced the extraordinary phenomenon of time travel and rebirth, which confirms that there may indeed be individuals in this world capable of knowing the past and predicting the future. I quietly ran my fingers over my mother's palm and cooed, "Mom, I want to go eat something." She still felt sorry for me. As soon as I made that request, she immediately left the group, supported me, and led me toward the cafeteria. Before I could turn away, I stole a glance back and collided with Lu Xian's gaze. I saw his lips move, and the two syllables he uttered were clearly Yao Yao. My heart trembled with panic, but I still pretended to remain calm and turned my head back. Nothing wrong, as long as I refused to admit it. Who would believe I'm a dead person? Besides, my existence isn't important. Today is the last day of the fast. Mother said she wants to go to the fasting hall to help out in return for the master's assistance that day. Before leaving, she reminded me not to go anywhere and to be careful not to run into what happened that day again. Bored and with my legs crossed, I lay on the bed reading scriptures, and after a while I felt sleepy and couldn't help but close my eyes. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in a strange grand hall, and the Buddha statues inside were ones I had never seen in any temple before. Other Buddha statues were either kind or solemn. Some held a censers or twined lotus flowers in their hands. Unlike this statue of Buddha, its facial expression is unmistakably the famous 21st century yellow little meme. What's even more outrageous is that it has its middle finger pointed straight up at the sky. Is it provoking the heavens? And what's even more outrageous than that is that its temple is the largest I have ever seen in my life. And what's even more outrageous than all of that is that its golden body is actually cast from real gold, with a piece of dough-like wrapper on its head, and on that wrapper, There are gems. Chapter 11. Creak. Someone opened the door and came in. I quickly closed my eyes and pretended to be asleep. I felt a pair of legs stop beside me, and then they remained still. After a long time, someone spoke up, and as expected, it was Lu Shuren. Don't pretend any longer. I know the dose I gave you. You should have woken up before I came in. Yao Yao. I could not pretend any longer and stood up straight. My lord is really petty. I only called you by the wrong name once last time, and you abducted me because of that. Or are you like the noble lady from before, suffering from madness and going around claiming daughters? Come to think of it, you actually could have a daughter my age, and I just happen to be in need of a rich and powerful father. He closed his eyes in pain, then took out a small dough figurine from his sleeve and held it up in front of me. The paint on the dough figurine had faded, and the cracks on its body looked like the sprawling legs of a centipede, but I still recognized it as the small likeness of myself that I had once stood for an incense stick's worth of time to have crafted in my previous life. Oh my, where did such an ugly little dough figurine come from? I waved my hand in disgust and deliberately knocked the dough figurine to the ground, where it instantly shattered into pieces. Lu Xian panicked and knelt down to pick up the figurine's limbs, but I accidentally stepped on them, grinding them all into powder. He knelt there on the ground, covered his face, and began to sob bitterly. Yao Yao. Master Juehue said you were reborn into this body. I know you are. Yao Yao. Please forgive me. I beg you, forgive me. When I was young, I was awkward and stubborn. On top of that, I held a grudge because your brother took away the one I once loved. I did so many despicable things to you. I deserve to be punished. Suddenly, he raised his hand and began slapping himself left and right. I watched his ridiculous behavior coldly, with no intention of responding, but fearing that I might confirm my true identity, I had no choice but to pretend to be a frightened young girl. I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Help! The officer is possessed! Oh no, the officer is possessed!" Chaotic footsteps sounded outside as a group of servants rushed in. They all froze at the sight of Lu Xian in such a state. I seized the opportunity to dash out the door, while Lu Xian's hoarse shouts echoed behind me. Yao Yao, I truly love you from the bottom of my heart. I just realized it too late. I willingly drank the sterilization potion bestowed by the Dowager Empress. After all, I failed to protect you. I ignored him and ran off without looking back. I've been dead for many years, and now you all come running to mourn as if nothing happened. You were disobedient in life, crying for your mother after she died, and even the ghosts would roll their eyes in disdain. All of you deserve to be scorned by the ridiculous Buddha. What a bad omen. I must hurry and take my mother away. Chapter 12. That night after returning home, I had a dream in which a ludicrous giant Buddha raised his middle finger at me. Feeling slighted, I was about to step forward and argue with him when he slowly withdrew his middle finger and raised his thumb instead. After waking up, I felt a vague sense of loss, as if something was amiss with my two reincarnations, as though I had forgotten something of the utmost importance. The imperial examinations came and went in a flash. I never expected my brother to be so capable. He paraded through the streets on horseback and became a glorious top scholar. The imperial examination produced an exceptionally large number of talented individuals. Delighted by this, the emperor specially ordered that the successful candidates residing in the capital bring their families to the palace to attend the Cheonglin banquet. The banquet was held on a grand scale, bringing together 3 generations of court officials, veterans, the middle-aged, and the young, along with the newly minted imperial scholars. The sheer number of attendees left the female relatives overwhelmed. The emperor and empress sat majestically at the head of the hall, surrounded by palace concubines and beauties of various ranks. I noticed the corners of Lin Jiao's mouth drooping, while the emperor, in contrast, was beaming with rudder-faced delight. I had long known that an emperor was bound to have a vast harem. For the stability of the previous dynasty, he had to distribute his favor evenly among his consorts and never show undue partiality. I just wonder whether Lin Jiao would regret not choosing the deeply affectionate, faithful second male lead when midnight dreams return. I felt a bit suffocated, greeted my family, and then had a palace maid lead me out to get some air. After wandering around, I sensed something was wrong, but it was too late. Lucian had already squeezed in front of me. I originally planned to bow to him like other officials and then brush past, but I never expected him to step forward and grab my hand directly. Yao Yao, I will petition His Majesty for an edict of marriage. The mistake made 10 years ago must be corrected. He gazed at me with deep affection. But I was utterly horrified. I screamed and tried to break free from him. Yet he only held on tighter. Please release my younger sister, Lord Duke, as an elder. If she has offended you in any way, I beg your forgiveness. My brother is here. I quickly cried out for help. Bro, hit him, help me, alright? Chapter 13. My brother really did roll up his sleeves. Lucian probably never imagined that a mere top scholar would dare to strike a duke. When the fist came at him, he didn't fight back, and that's how I managed to break free so easily. He. Lucian suddenly bent over, laughing uncontrollably. Brother, Yao Yao, your brother is sitting on the dragon throne. I felt an unprecedented unease. Lucian actually wanted to take my family away from me. Shut up, if you want to snatch royalty and risk my life. I haven't lived enough yet. Lucian, however, ignored me and spoke to himself. You, the top scholar, probably can't imagine it. The person in my sister's shell has long since changed course. If you don't believe me, ask Master Juehui. He is a disciple of the future Buddha. The current Shen Yansheng is not Shen Yansheng. She is the late Princess Fuan, the emperor's younger sister. My face flushed red as I carefully tried to read my brother's expression, only to see him suddenly laugh. He gave me another sharp rap on the head, then took my hand and led me away from that place of trouble. Aren't you sad? Your own little sister is gone. Behind us, Lu Shuren, unwilling to give up, kept trying to drive a wedge between us. Finally, my brother spoke. She has always been my little sister, and only I know that her taste has never been very good. My brother lowered his head until his forehead touched mine. Isn't that right, Grape? Chapter 14. Memories came flooding back, nearly knocking me to the ground. Gloomy, damp rainy day, a snail's grave marker lying flat. A shy, teenage boy stubbornly clenched the hand of the little girl whose height only reached his knees. Adults dressed in black at the funeral shook their heads and sighed. Poor things. All the adults were swept away by the flash flood and perished. The two young ones, one was at school, the other in the hospital, managed to escape the disaster. How will they ever get by now? This younger one also has a congenital disability in one eye and can't see. No one is willing to adopt them, but Chengzi refuses to abandon her sister, saying that the eldest brother is like a father, and he'll raise her himself. The young boy, bare-chested, his back already peeling from the scorching sun, darted among the grapevines. He cut down a bunch of deep purple grapes and smiled at the little girl eating ice cream under a parasol. Little grape, be good. Look, Mom and Dad are watching over us. This year's grape harvest is good. Brother will soon be able to take the grapes and get the surgery, and we can even give some to the uncles and aunts on the street and in the district committee who have always helped us. I stood blankly in a large hall, where a funeral dirge played. On a platform decorated with chrysanthemums and white cloth, a teenager beamed with pride in a black and white photograph. Many people came and went. I could only look up at their knees. Some kept taking photos of me with their cameras. Our station reports that 19-year-old Cheng Cheng, who was working at a construction site during his summer vacation, was tragically pierced by a steel bar. Despite rescue efforts, he succumbed to his injuries. Before his death, he made a will at the hospital, donating his corneas to his younger sister. The compensation will be managed by the relevant authorities and distributed to his sister on a monthly basis. It is learned that the parents of Cheng Cheng and his sister passed away long ago, leaving the two siblings as orphans. As the memory ended, I had already collapsed in tears in my brother's arms, while his lips were bitten so hard they bled. Brother, why did you leave me behind? I don't want to treat my eyes, I just want you. Brother, does it hurt? Does it hurt? Tears fell onto the top of my head, burning so deeply that my heart ached. Brother doesn't feel pain, really, he doesn't. Just close your eyes and it'll be over, you won't feel a thing. Has brother ever lied to little Grape? I kicked the ground in agony. You're lying, you're in pain. You are. Chapter 15. In my current state, it's impossible to continue attending the banquet. Luckily, the emperor and his consort had already returned to their chambers. Leaving only the ministers to keep drinking, my elder brother had a palace-maid escort our mother out. When she saw my tear-streaked, cat-like face, she was startled and wanted to ask something. But my brother cut her off. "Mother, Nyan Sheng and I had a quarrel. She's throwing a little tantrum and crying over it." Hearing this, mother breathed a sigh of relief and scolded us with a laugh. "How old are you two now? Still bickering like little kids? You're both such little rascals." When we got home, we sent mother off to bed. The two of us siblings sat facing each other in the study in silence. In the end, I was the first to speak. "Bro, I'll ask and you answer." Okay. Is it because of you that I was reborn twice?" "No, after I died, my parents pleaded with the messenger to grant me life once more. They were willing to give 1/10 of the blessings from their next life to the messenger, and that's how I was assigned to this small world, after you died in the car accident. In your original world, your parents gave 1/10 of their blessings to the messenger, and you arrived here. After I died miserably when I fell off the city wall, I also gave 1/10 of my share to the messenger, who then found the woman named Anyang and her family, altering their memories, and I and you became Anyang's child. I couldn't help but be moved to tears again. The so-called travel through time, rebirth, seemingly hopeless life, are actually the continual from family. They were not by my side, yet they created chances for me to live again time and time again. Then can I see my parents? I've forgotten what they look like." Older brother gently shook his head. "They should have become other people's little babies by now." I felt very uneasy. "But their blessings have already been shared with us this much, for future lives. You don't need to worry. The envoy says he won't take this blessing anymore, because what you did made him very happy." Older brother shook his head with a soft laugh. "The envoy is really an interesting person, beautiful, loves gossip, greedy for money, and even his taste in clothes is remarkably poor." Somehow, the comical image of a giant Buddha giving me a thumbs up immediately popped into my mind. "Bro, does the envoy have a piece of doe-skin-like white cloth on his head and always give the middle finger?" my brother asked in surprise. "You've seen him. I suppose you could say I have seen him." Chapter 16. My brother and sister were still basking in the joy of recognizing each other, but Lu Xuan had not stopped trying to stir trouble. "Shen Yansheng, which aspect of my Guogong is not worthy of you? You actually don't want to marry?" I knelt in the imperial study, with the emperor and empress and Lu Xuan all waiting for my reply. I had planned to pretend to be crazy, but before I left, my elder brother told me to speak freely, that he would handle it in his own way. I took a deep breath. "To report to your Majesty, Your Highness, the age mismatch is not acceptable. The Ducan's age could already be a father to a common woman." What a joke. How many girls in the capital want to marry Ducan? How could you disdain him? Lin Jiao not only has more wrinkles on her face, but her temper has grown foul, yet I still want to provoke her. "Your Majesty, when I first entered the capital, I heard about you, Grand Ducan, and the late Princess Fuan. Grand Ducan always likes to chase after what is lost and does not know how to cherish the people in front of him. I do not want to walk the old path of Princess Fuan." The emperor's face turned iron grey, but Lin Jiao's face went deathly pale. "Yao Yao, you are Yao Yao indeed. You were my wife from the start." Lu Xian is losing his mind again. I bang my head, knocking it hollow. "Your Majesty, Your Highness, look. The Duke is deranged, trying to use me as a stand-in." The emperor smashed a fine inkstone and spoke coldly. "Shen family's young lady, I will draft an edict now to wed you to the Ducan. Who dares to oppose?" I was startled. I don't know when the Empress Dowager had entered the room, still holding a precious sword in her hand, with my elder brother right behind her. The Empress Dowager unsheathed the sword and swung it at the Emperor on the dragon throne, her voice hoarse as she roared, "All of you deserve to die. All of you are scheming to use my Yao Yao." Ah! Lin Jiao's scream brought the guards running, but it was still too late. The Emperor's left hand had been severed, turning him into Doraemon, and Lin Jiao's face was also injured. Her brother immediately seized the sword from the Empress Dowager's hand and thrust it into Lu Xian's grasp. "The Marquis of Angua has had a mad fit and stabbed His Majesty. Arrest him at once." The guards surged forward all at once. "Everyone knows the truth. But everyone also knows that the royal family must not be tainted by disgrace, for parricide or matricide would be intolerable to the righteous order. This blame must fall on Lu Shuren. After all, it all started because of him. Chapter 17. My brother and I took advantage of the chaos to slip out of the palace. Mother was waiting outside the palace walls with the carriage. The ancestral home was in a good location and sold for a fair price. I've heard that the Yu Kingdom in the south is the most powerful and prosperous nation. My brother has already received a recommendation from a close friend he made during his travels as a scholar, though I'm not sure if he'll be able to become a top scholar parading through the streets on horseback in Yu early spring. With warmth just around the corner, it is the perfect time of year. Extra. My brother, I found a way to fill my stomach in the school cafeteria with the least money, not wanting dishes, just 3 yuan worth of rice. And pouring the free soup over it makes the most delicious kanji. This half-grown me is exactly at a time when I'm starving my father. My stomach is dry and hollow. I'm both thin and tall, like a bamboo pole. In fact, society and the school have provided me with a lot of help. They arranged student loans for me, applied for poverty subsidies, my grades are good, and I receive the national scholarship every year, but I'm habitually stingy with myself. Because there's no adult at home and I have a sister who needs surgery, I think if I save a little, I can accumulate more money, so my sister can attend the best kindergarten and have surgery at the best hospital I don't want to use. Everyone's sympathy to become a beggar. Every teacher and classmate goes out of their way to invite me to meals. They're afraid of hurting my pride, to the extent that they even come up with excuses like celebrating the stray cat in the school. Dating. The uncles and aunties from the neighborhood and district offices often came to our home bringing things to check on my sister and me. When our parents passed away, they took care of everything for us and even helped us apply for subsistence allowances. Aside from fate being unkind to me, everyone around me has been very kind. We were poor, but perhaps Mom and Dad, watching from heaven, couldn't bear to see my sister and me suffer too much, so they blessed our family vineyard with a surprisingly high yield. The summer after my freshman year of college, I didn't do much else. Every day I rode a tricycle to pick grapes and then hauled them to the market to sell. I had no one to look after my little sister, so I put a hat on her, grabbed an umbrella, and brought her with me under the grapevine. The sun burned my back, but my heart felt happy. I've saved up a bit more toward my sister's surgery, and I can even give some grapes to those who've helped us at the market. My sister sleeps in the shade under the cart, her head resting on her favorite Peppa Pig blanket. Thanks to her, the people who came to buy grapes are no longer shy about bargaining with me, and a tattooed, fierce-looking uncle even left behind 200 yuan and ran away. When I caught up to him, I found he was wiping away tears. Everyone thinks we are orphans and pitiful, but I don't think so. How could we be considered orphans? After all, I have grapes, and grapes also have my brother. We still have blood-related siblings in this world. 2 weeks before school started, my grapes were sold out, and I thought about finding a part-time job. Luckily, my neighbor's grandmother likes children and is willing to take care of my little sister and play with her on the construction site. I earn 300 yuan a day. If I persist until school starts, I can save up 4,500 yuan, and then I'll have living expenses settled. Being pierced by rebar hurts so much. In the operating room, in a daze, I can hear the doctors and nurses sighing. I can't walk away like this. I still have a 4-year-old sister. I must arrange everything for her. Using what little strength I had left, I grabbed onto a corner and, regardless of whether he could hear me clearly, muttered in fragments. There's still 10,000 yuan at home. Use it to pay off my student loans, give the compensation from the construction site to the authorities, and have them send it to my sister every month, and my eyes, give them to my sister too. As my consciousness was about to slip away, I heard sobbing all around me. Grape. I'm sorry, life is too bitter. Your brother is leaving first. Extraordinary spring and harmonious bright. The capital of Yu Kingdom, Spring City, is unusually lively at this moment. Passers-by, vendors, and hucksters all stand along both sides of the street with their necks stretched out, while the girls in the normally secluded taverns along the street poke their shy faces out of the windows. Among them, a noble young man is indignant. You say I am inferior to that surname kid in any way? Why do Chunhua and Shuya both fall for him? A friend nearby took a sip of tea and looked at his head, which had half of his hair shaved off, silently speechless, but thinking that baldness was his friend's Achilles' heel. A trigger for danger, he wisely changed the subject. Brother, you are by no means lacking, but the surname is too extraordinary. He looks good, is skilled in martial arts, and highly respectful to young ladies, cherishing his sister and his mother. Now he has also passed the imperial examination as a Zhuangyuan, and he is the sole student of the Son of Heaven personally tested by the Emperor. Now every girl in the city is crazy for him, swearing that they will today offer him their sachets. Even the old ministers are risking their faces, all aiming to catch his bride under the ranking. The Minister of Revenue and General Wei even started fighting over it. The Minister of Works tried to intervene, and even his beard was ripped off. In a fit of anger, they all reported to the Emperor, only to have the Emperor grant them the 3 characters old geezer. The bald gentleman opened his mouth wide, chugging 3 more cups of hot tea to comfort his wounded spirit. The top scholar has arrived. The street below bustled with excitement. Men and women, young and old, held fruits and flowers in their hands, while the young ladies upstairs waved embroidered handkerchiefs and sachets. Gongs sounded, and 2 rows of constables walked past holding plaques. Behind them came a tall, spirited horse adorned with a red flower. Looking up, the young man seated atop the horse was truly handsome and elegant. His gaze drifted, then settled on one spot and stayed there, his eyes blooming with a smile. People were driven mad in mind by this grin. The top scholar smiled at me. What about my maidens? Come on, crush them with me. Nonsense. Obviously he smiled at me. Fruit, flowers, sachets, and embroidered handkerchiefs flew from all directions, and even children were tossed by their own fathers with their ink treasures. The guards of the escort were all wiping from their foreheads, really fearing the top scholar would be crushed to death. But who was the top scholar smiling at? They curiously followed the line of the top scholar's gaze, and a pretty mother and daughter pair were being tickled into fits of giggles by a plump, fair-skinned little boy. That little fat boy looked quite familiar, really resembling a son of the Prime Minister's family. Nian Sheng, I tell you. When my father was a top scholar, the parade scene was no less grand than our elder brother's, so you can imagine how handsome my father must have been. When I lose weight, I will surely be even more handsome than him. Please don't marry anyone, you must wait for me. Spring is harmonious and bright, flowers line the road, everyone is smiling, and the servants reach into their ears. Truly blessed. Extra. Nian Sheng and Qingyuan. Jiyu Qingyuan's elder brother was the close friend who had recommended my brother to come to the State of Yu. When we first arrived in Yu, he also hosted us at the Chancellor's residence, which is how I came to know Jiyu Qingyuan. The first time I saw Jiyu Qingyuan, I felt as if a soft, white glutinous rice ball was bouncing before my eyes. It was only when he smiled with his eyes curving into crescents and greeted me that I realized he was the Chancellor's most beloved young son. The Chancellor's family was very kind. Knowing that my brother was preparing for the imperial examination, they set aside a quiet courtyard for us to live in. They had also intended to assign servants to attend to our daily needs, but we declined. Mother picked up her needlework again. But this time, the one who could wear the clothes and shoes she made, besides us, was the fair and delicate Jiyu Qingyuan. If there's anyone in the Chancellor's residence who welcomes our family the most, it's Jiyu Qingyuan. When we moved into the Chancellor's residence, Jiyu Qingyuan was in a dire predicament, and the reason behind it is almost laughable. The Chancellor's household lacked neither power nor status, yet the 18-year-old Jiyu Qingyuan couldn't find a wife. It was simply because all the young ladies thought he was too chubby and baby-faced, good only as a little brother. With a wave of her hand, the Chancellor's wife cut Jiyu Qingyuan's meals in half. Unless he slimmed down to the average weight of the noble sons of Spring City, he wasn't allowed to touch anything greasy or meaty at that time. I was still unaware of the disputes within the household. Each day, I focused on preparing food to help my brother regain his strength. Yet, every time I lifted the lid of the soup I had made, I found that half of it had disappeared. Puzzled, I thought to myself that even if there were stray cats, they couldn't possibly remove a scalding hot lid. So I told my brother about it. He frowned as he drank his soup, tapping his fingers on the table. After finishing it, he curled his lips into a smile and said, "That's no stray cat, it's clearly a rat, and a big, fat white one at that." That night, I followed my elder brother's instructions and made a beggar's chicken, wrapping it in a lotus leaf and yellow clay, and buried it in the small fire pit in the yard before going inside to rest. My elder brother deliberately spoke louder and said to me, "Nyan Sheng, this beggar's chicken becomes most delicious after braising in clay and fire for 1 hour, let's rest first, and after 1 hour we'll come back to enjoy the flavors." I didn't understand his intention, but I have always listened to him and obediently returned to the room to rest. I couldn't tell if it was an illusion. But from the flower bushes behind me, it seemed to be a sound of someone slurping saliva. I was drowsily falling asleep when my brother woke me. It was the first time I had ever seen such a sly expression on his face. "Nyan Sheng, hurry up, we're catching the giant rat." I was puzzled. But when I saw the large glutinous rice ball through the crack in the door, I understood everything. I didn't know whether to laugh or be annoyed. The moonlight was dazzling, illuminating everything clearly. Gu Qingyuan was squatting in front of the bonfire where we had buried the beggar's chicken, rummaging through it. The remaining embers must have scalded him, as he couldn't help but let out a soft hiss, but afraid of making too much noise and alerting anyone, he quickly covered his mouth. My brother and I pressed our eyes to the crack in the door, watching him struggle with all his might to pry open the beggar's chicken. Just as he was about to crack the clay shell and take a bite, my brother roared, "Qing'an, you've arrived." Jiyu Qing'an was precisely my brother's good friend and the elder brother of Jiyu Qingyuan. Jiyu Qingyuan froze on the spot. Only when we approached and he saw the mischief written all over our faces did he realize we were bluffing him. His lips trembled slightly, and we were all waiting for him to come up with a plausible explanation until, without warning, his eyes rolled back and he fainted. Fortunately, my brother reacted quickly and caught him. He collapsed like a mountain into my brother's arms. I was about to go call the doctor when he woke up again. "Dear sister, don't go, this is just hunger." Later on, Jiyu Qingyuan, relying on his fortunate appearance and honeyed words, successfully won mother's heart and naturally became an unofficial member of our family's dining table. But my brother was always unhappy about it. He tried his best to keep me from being alone with Jiyu Qingyuan. When I asked him why, he said, "That pig Jiyu Qingyuan is trying to nibble on our prized cabbage." I strongly disagreed with my brother. Jiyu Qingyuan just loved the food I made. Besides, I honestly thought that even if Jiyu Qingyuan were a pig, he'd be a fair little one with pink paw pads, and I actually enjoyed spending time with him. Auntie was especially protective of Jiyu Qingyuan. "I think Qingyuan is a kind-hearted and witty child. Haven't you noticed that Niansheng smiles more when playing with him?" Her brother sighed, muttering reluctantly under his breath, "Anyway, there's no way he's marrying my sister while looking like that." I laughed. "Brother, you're overthinking it. Jiyu Qingyuan is just a good friend of mine. Just because he once took me through a dog hole to spy on your romantic rendezvous with the tutor's daughter doesn't mean you need to hold such a grudge." A bright blush instantly spread across my brother's face, and a gleam of gossipy excitement sparkled in Auntie's eyes. But my brother ran off too quickly. His furious voice could still be heard from afar, greeting Jiyu Qingyuan. I always thought Jiyu Qingyuan only treated me as a friend, but I didn't expect that on the day my elder brother, the top student in high school, went around town on a horse, he used the moment as a joke to confess to me in front of my mother. At the time, I didn't pay attention, thinking he was joking with me and mother, and would provoke my brother by the way. But I never expected that the usually food-loving him would actually start to slim down for me. Later I found out that he had already confessed his feelings to my elder brother beforehand. My brother coldly said to him, "If you can't lose weight, don't even talk about it." In the first year, he lost 10 pounds, and his eyes grew a bit larger. He happily ran to our new home and said to me, "Nyan Sheng, wait for me." He got a glare from my brother in the second year. He was ordered by the emperor to go to Jiangnan to manage the flooding. I did not see him for an entire year. My brother muttered while looking at the betrothal gift list sent to the Grand Tutor's mansion, "I wonder if that little chubby guy can endure this hardship." In the third year, He still hadn't returned. I heard he was building a dam in Bashu. I felt a little uneasy. Bashu is known for its beauties. After all, Big Brother toyed with the gift of native product specialty brought back by his connections, and complained to his sister-in-law and mother-in-law, "This little fat guy is still so naive, all childish stuff, and he doesn't even bother to swing by and see us once." In the 4th year, sister-in-law gave birth to a pair of dragon and phoenix twins, and the whole family was overjoyed. Big Brother stroked the baby's soft little hands and complained to his good friend Jiyu Chingan, "That fat little brother of yours still isn't back yet, but several ladies' sons have come to ask for Nyansheng's hand in marriage." I felt somewhat lonely and went to the back courtyard to clear my mind. There stands a tall persimmon tree, and Jiyu Qingyuan loves eating the persimmons from this tree the most. A gust of wind blew, and leaves fell onto my head. I reached out to pluck them, but someone stepped forward first. I looked up and saw familiar brows and eyes, but the figure was slender, no longer that glutinous little dumpling. Jiyu Qingyuan hadn't lied to me. He truly looked good after losing weight. He stood there in the warm autumn sunlight, smiling at me like that. "Nyansheng, I've finally lost weight. Can I marry you?" Warmth rose in my heart. I wanted to hold on to happiness tightly, so I smiled and said to him, "Yes, you can. Brother misses you so much, and I miss you too, extra." The grapes are ripe. Spring arrives earlier in the Yu Kingdom than in Daxia in the Spring City. Peach blossoms bloom as early as February, draping the entire city in soft pinks and whites. When the wind blows, it's as if a shower of rouge-tinted snow is falling. Shen Yansheng sat on a swing in the back courtyard of the Chancellor's residence, holding a bowl of freshly made glutinous rice balls in Osmanthus wine brew. She pushed off the ground lightly with her feet, and the swing began to sway gently. Jiyu Qingyuan squatted under the persimmon tree, locked in a wide-eyed stare-down with a plump orange cat. "Niansheng, he's stolen my dried fish again." Jiyu Qingyuan turned his head, looking pitiful. His now thinner face had lost its baby fat, revealing delicate, refined features. Only his eyes remained round, like two black grapes. Shen Yansheng scooped a rice ball into her mouth and mumbled indistinctly, "What's a big man like you squabbling with a cat for? Those were the dried fish you hung out for me." Jiyu Qingyuan stood up, brushed the dust off his robe, walked over to the swing, and gave her a push. "You have no idea how long I've been waiting for them." Shen Yansheng swung high under his push, her skirt fluttering in the wind, and she couldn't help but laugh out loud. Her laughter was crisp, like the wind chimes under the eaves, tinkling and scattering all over the yard. Jiyu Qingyuan looked at her smiling face and found himself smiling too. He thought of the first time he met Shen Yansheng 3 years ago. At that time, he was a fat, white, glutinous rice ball, too fat to find a wife. His mother cut off meat and fish, and he was so hungry his eyes sparkled. That night he smelled an unusual fragrance, followed the scent to the guest courtyard, and found that the newly moved-in Shen family siblings had buried a beggar's chicken in the yard. He crouched behind the flower bushes, his saliva flowing 3 feet long. Later he was discovered, and his face burned with shame, wishing he could disappear into a crack in the ground. But Shen Yansheng did not laugh at him. Instead, he stuffed the largest chicken leg into his hand and said, "Eat it, don't starve yourself." That chicken leg was the best thing he had ever eaten in his life. It's not because the chicken leg itself is particularly delicious, but because it was the first time someone gave him food without asking for any reason when he was hungry. Since then, he has deemed her to be the one too. When Big Brother Shen Huaijin returned from the Yamen, it was already dark. He had served as an official in Yu Country for 3 years, starting from a 7th-rank magistrate and rising all the way to a 5th-rank registrar. Now he was on duty in the Ministry of Revenue, so busy his feet barely touched the ground. But no matter how late it was, he would always first go to the back courtyard to see his younger sister. Today, when he pushed open the courtyard gate, what he saw was Jiyu Qingyuan and Shen Yansheng sitting side by side on the swing. Their shadows stretched long by the moonlight and overlapped with each other. Shen Huaijin's face suddenly darkened. "Jiyu Qingyuan, why aren't you going back to your own courtyard?" Jiyu Qingyuan stood up, saluting respectfully. "Brother, I'll be on my way." He turned to Shen Yansheng again and said, "Niansheng, tomorrow I'll take you outside the city to look at the peach blossoms. I've heard they're especially beautiful this year. Shen Yanxing hadn't had a chance to answer yet when Shen Huaijin strode forward, blocking the space between the two. What's so good about peach blossoms, Yanxing? You're coming with me to handle the accounts at the shop tomorrow. Jiyu Qingyuan pursed his lips, but dared not argue, and could only cast glances backward as he left step by step. Shen Yanxing looked at her brother's face, which was clearly marked with displeasure, and couldn't help but laugh. Brother, why? Do you always pick on him? Pick on him, Shen Huaijin snorted. He comes running to you every other day. You think I don't see through his little scheme? He may have lost some weight, but a pig is still a pig. No way he's getting anywhere near my cabbage. Brother, am I the cabbage you're talking about? Who else could it be? Shen Yanxing laughed even more happily, linking his arm with his elder brother and resting his head on his shoulder. Brother, don't worry, he is a good person. Unlike Lu Shuren, Shen Huaijin fell silent for a moment, then reached out and rubbed his sister's hair. I know he is a good person, but I still can't bear to part with him. Mother's health is getting better and better. In the former Great Xia, she was always busy, running a stall and doing sewing. Her waist and eyes weren't in good condition. After coming to Yu Kingdom, my elder brother had a salary, and Shen Yansheng's ready-to-wear shop also flourished. Mother finally didn't have to worry about livelihood, and each day she only tended flowers, fed the cats, and chatted with the neighboring aunts. The thing she loves to do the most is making clothes for Jiyu Qingyuan. Qingyuan has lost so much weight. His old clothes don't fit him anymore, Mother said as she cut the fabric. That child has had it hard ever since he was little. His family has been restricting what he can and can't eat. My heart aches just watching him. Shen Yanxing, who was helping iron the fabric nearby, looked up and said, Mother, why don't you feel for me? I've lost weight too. What do you mean, lost weight? You eat so much every day, you can even finish 3 bowls of tang yuan. Shen Yanxing was left speechless. She looked down at her waist and realized she hadn't lost any weight at all. Grandma rambled on again. Qingyuan said that next time he has a day off, he'll take us to the hot springs outside the city. Your brother is coming too, the whole family is going. Shen Yanxing felt a warm glow in her heart at the words the whole family. She remembered her previous life in the palace, where there had never been such a thing as the whole family. The Empress Dowager was one faction, the Empress another, the Emperor another, and her half-brother the Crown Prince yet another, caught in the middle. She dared not get close to anyone or trust anyone now. Everything was different. Now she has her mother, her elder brother, and Jiyu Qingyuan, and a chubby orange cat for Jiyu Qingyuan. Finally passed the imperial examination as a Zhuangyuan. When the news arrived, the entire chancellor's residence erupted in excitement. The chancellor's wife was so overjoyed that she kept wiping away tears, and even the usually composed chancellor himself was grinning from ear to ear. Shen Huaijin was reviewing official documents in his study. Upon hearing the news, his brush paused for a moment before he continued writing. Shen Yanxing ran over and asked him, Brother, aren't you happy? Happy about what? He's the one who became the top scholar, not you. But, Shen Yanxing bit her lip. He said that once he became the top scholar, he would come to propose. Shen Huaijin set the pen down and turned to look at her sister. Are you sure you want to marry him? Shen Yanxing nodded, her eyes bright. With no hesitation at all, Shen Huaijin looked at her for a long time, then finally sighed. Fine, but if he dares to treat you badly, I don't care if he's the #1 draft pick. I'll still beat him up. Nian Shengshen laughed, then pounced to hug his older brother. Thanks, bro. 5. When Jiyu Qingyuan came to propose, he brought 2 wild geese, a pair of jade bracelets, and a box of drawings he had made himself. All the drawings feature Shen Yanxing. One shows her swinging on a swing, another her in the kitchen making dumplings, another her feeding a cat under a persimmon tree, and another her asleep on the table. Each one is drawn with great care, even the small mole behind her ear is clearly depicted. Mother looked at the drawings, her eyes turning red. She held Jiyu Qingyuan's hand and said, Good child, you've shown your heart. Shen Huaijin looked at the drawings, snorted, and said, The drawings are decent, but far from mine. Jiyu Qingyuan hurriedly said, Big brother's painting skills are unrivaled in the world. I, younger brother, am far from reaching it. Shen Huaijin felt goosebumps rise at being called big brother by him. but the corner of his mouth. Couldn't help but lift a little. The wedding date was set in autumn. Shen Yanxing began stitching the bridal gown day and night. Her embroidery wasn't particularly good, but her mother said, "It's more reassuring to wear a gown you stitched yourself," so she gritted her teeth and stitched thread by thread. Jiyu Qingyuan came home from court every day to see her, helping her separate thread the needle, and occasionally quietly kiss her on the face when mother wasn't looking. Shen Yanxing blushed and pushed him away every time, saying, "Stop it, mother might see." "Good, let her see. You're about to be my wife anyway." Shen Yanxing was both amused and exasperated by his shamelessness. She picked up a pair of scissors and pretended to stab him with them. He quickly dodged, and the two of them ended up in a playful scuffle. Her mother watched from the doorway, shook her head with a smile, and turned to go to the kitchen to make them some soup. 6 On the day of the grand wedding. The weather was unbelievably good. The autumn sky was high and clear, with not a cloud in sight, and the sunshine gilded the entire city of spring. Shen Yanxing wore the large red wedding dress she embroidered herself, with a phoenix coronet on her head, sitting in the bridal sedan chair, listening to the drums and gongs outside, her heart beating loudly. Her mother held her hand, crying hysterically, "Nian Sheng, when you arrive at your husband's house, you must be filial to your in-laws and not be willful." Shen Yanxing also cried. Holding her mother and refusing to let go, Shen Huaijin walked over, helped their mother aside, and wiped the tears from their younger sister's eyes. "Don't cry anymore. Crying makes your makeup run and look bad." Shen Yanxing sniffed and said, "Brother, you must take care of yourself too. What could I do poorly? I'm a grown man." Eating well and drinking well, Shen Yanxing was amused by him, tears still on his face, his mouth already curved upward. The bridal sedan chair reached the gate of the Jiyu residence, and Jiyu Qingyuan lifted the curtain of the sedan and stretched out his hand. Shen Yanxing placed his hand into his palm. His hand was warm, slightly sweaty, indicating that he was nervous as well. "Let's go," he said. Shen Yanxing nodded, followed him across the threshold, and stepped into the wedding hall. Bowing to heaven and earth, bowing to the high hall, the couple perform a joint bow. The ceremony is complete. After sending her into the bridal chamber, Jiyu Qingyuan lifted her red veil, and the two exchanged a glance, both smiling. "Are you hungry?" "Hungry." Jiyu Qingyuan brought a bowl of steaming hot wontons from the table and handed it to her. "Have something to tide you over." Shen Yanxing took the wontons, took a bite, and suddenly asked, "How did you know I'd be hungry?" Jiyu Qingyuan smiled, "Because I knew you hadn't eaten anything since this morning." Shen Yanxing lowered her head and continued eating the wontons, tears falling into the broth. In this life, someone finally remembered that she could get hungry. 7 The days after marriage turned out better than Shen Yanxing had imagined. Jiyu Qingyuan's parents were easygoing people. Although the chancellor's wife had been strict with her son in the past, she was exceptionally gentle with her daughter-in-law, going out of her way each day to prepare delicious meals for Shen Yanxing. The chancellor himself was a man of few words, but every time he returned from court, he would bring Shen Yanxing small trinkets, sometimes a book, sometimes a flower. Shen Yanxing sometimes wondered, if she had had such in-laws in her past life, would things have been different? But the thought was only fleeting. What was in the past life had already passed. She just wanted to live this life well. Jiyu Qingyuan treats her ridiculously well. Every morning before leaving the house, he would kiss her on the forehead. Every time he returned from the yamen, he would bring her small snacks. She likes painting, so he buys her the best pigments and rice paper. She sometimes gets angry, but he doesn't get upset. He just smiles and says, "It's my fault," then waits for her to calm down before slowly reasoning with her. Mother sometimes comes to see her, seeing Jiyu Qingyuan serving her tea and water, massaging her shoulders and back. She couldn't help but say to Shen Huaijin, "Look at our Qingyuan, and compare him to you. Your wife is pregnant, and you still have her serve water herself." Shen Huaijin answered with a blank expression, "Mother, my wife doesn't let me serve." Shen Yanxing smirked from the side. 8 In the winter of the first year of their marriage, Shen Yanxing became pregnant. When the news reached Jiyu Qingyuan at the yamen where he was approving official documents, his brush flew out of his hand upon hearing his servant's report. Without even changing out of his official robes, he mounted his horse and galloped home, knocking over 2 candid hawthorn stalls along the way and paying out a small fortune in compensation. Back at home, Shen Yanqing was lying in bed drinking soup. When she saw him rush in, breathless, she couldn't help but laugh. "What are you running for?" "I can't run anyway." Jiyu Qingyuan pounced to the edge of the bed, holding her hand, his eyes welling up. "Nian Sheng, am I going to be a father?" Jiyu Qingyuan buried his face in her palm, his shoulders trembling slightly. Shen Yanqing knew he was crying. She didn't expose him, only gently pat his back. "Don't cry anymore, it's bad for your eyes." "I didn't cry," Jiyu Qingyuan said stuffily. "I'm just too happy." Aunt brought in chicken soup, and upon seeing Jiyu Qingyuan like this, could not help but tease. "Qingyuan, are you happy or sad? Your tears are coming out." Jiyu Qingyuan quickly wiped his face, stood up, and respectfully took the chicken soup. "Mother, let me feed Niansheng." His mother smiled, handed him the bowl, and turned to leave. Jiyu Qingyuan fed Shen Yanqing spoonful by spoonful, very slowly and carefully, as if afraid the soup might burn her. Watching his earnest profile, Shen Yanqing's heart melted into a puddle. "Qingyuan," she called him. Thank you." "What for?" "Thank you for being so good to me." Jiyu Qingyuan looked up, gazed into her eyes, and said earnestly, "Nian Sheng, you don't know this, but being able to marry you is the greatest blessing of my life." Shen Yanqing's eyes turned red, and she reached out to pinch his cheek. "When did you become so smooth-tongued?" "Learning from you." Shen Yanqing laughed at him, and as she laughed, tears began to fall. Jiyu Qingyuan reached out to wipe away her tears, leaned down, and gently kissed her on the forehead. "Stop crying, it's bad for your eyes." Shen Yanqing broke into a smile through his tears and patted him on the shoulder. "You're copying me." 9. During the days of pregnancy, Jiyu Qingyuan took extremely good care of Shen Yanqing. He wouldn't let her do any housework, and even walking he made her hold on to something. Shen Yanqing complained that he was annoying, saying, "I'm not unable to move," and he serious-voiced replied, "The imperial physician said it, pregnant women must be careful, cannot fall." Shen Yanqing couldn't argue with him, so she could only go along with him. Mother-in-law came to see her every now and then, and every visit she would bring a big pile of food. Brother Shen Huaijin also often came, but every time he came he was pulled to play chess by Jiyu Qingyuan, and the two played so furiously that neither could concede to the other. One day, Shen Huaijin suddenly said to Jiyu Qingyuan, "Qingyuan, there's something I've kept from you all this time." Jiyu Qingyuan made his move without lifting his head. "What is it?" "About Nian Sheng's past life." Jiyu Qingyuan's hand paused, then he looked up at him. Shen Huaijin set the piece down, leaned back in his chair, and spoke slowly. "Her past life was she married a man who didn't love her, was treated as a stand-in, and finally fell from the city wall to her death." Jiyu Qingyuan's expression changed. "You're telling me all this because you want me to." "I'm not asking you to do anything," Shen Huaijin interrupted him. "I just want you to know that the hurt she's suffered is greater than you can imagine. She may seem carefree on the outside, but deep down she's very sensitive. If you dare treat her badly, I won't let it slide." Jiyu Qingyuan was silent for a long time, then said, "Brother, I won't." "I know you won't." Shen Huaijin smiled, "But some things still need to be said up front." Jiyu Qingyuan nodded and said nothing more. That night, he returned to his room to find Shen Yanqing already asleep. He sat by the bed, looking at her face for a long time. Moonlight streamed through the window, falling upon her face. Her eyelashes were long, casting a small shadow beneath her eyes. He reached out and gently touched her hair. "Nian Sheng," he whispered, "in this lifetime, I won't let you suffer even the slightest grievance." Shen Yansheng rolled over in her sleep, the corners of her mouth slightly upturned, as if she was smiling. 10. The day the child was born was in summer. The garden is full of gardenia blooming, their fragrance drifting far away. Shen Yansheng has been having contractions since morning, lasting until evening. Jiyu Qingyuan waits outside, pacing back and forth, leaving a clear mark on the slate ground in front of the door with each step. He has wanted to rush in several times, but his mother-in-law has stopped him each time. "You can't go in, Qingyuan. The delivery room is unlucky." "I don't believe in that." Jiyu Qingyuan hurriedly said. She's inside, I have to stay with her. If you go in, the midwife will have a hard time doing her work. You wait a bit longer. Jiyu Qingyuan clenched his fists, his nails digging into his palms. Finally, a baby's cry came from the delivery room, loud and vigorous. The door opened, and the midwife walked out holding a swaddled infant, beaming as she said, "Congratulations, top scholar, it's a daughter." Jiyu Qingyuan took the child, glanced at her, then rushed into the delivery room. Shen Yanxing lay on the bed, her face pale, her damp hair plastered to her cheeks. She was exhausted but still in good spirits. Seeing Jiyu Qingyuan enter, she gave a weak smile. "Let me see the child." Jiyu Qingyuan placed the child beside her, leaned down, and kissed her on the forehead. "You worked hard," he said, his voice a little choked. Shen Yanxing looked down at their daughter. The little one was wrinkly, her face flushed red, her tiny fists clenched tightly, struggling to open her eyes. "She looks like you," Shen Yanxing said. Jiyu Qingyuan looked at his daughter, then at Shen Yanxing, and said earnestly, "Like you, beautiful." Shen Yanxing rolled her eyes at him. "She's so wrinkly, how is that beautiful? Even wrinkly she's beautiful. Beautiful because she looks like you." Shen Yanxing was amused by him, but the laughter tugged at her wound, making her wince in pain. Jiyu Qingyuan quickly steadied her, helped her lie back down, and tucked the blanket around her. "You rest, I'll watch over them." Shen Yanxing closed her eyes and soon fell asleep. Jiyu Qingyuan sat by the bed, holding Shen Yanxing's hand with one hand while gently patting their daughter with the other. Looking at the two of them, one big and one small, he felt an unprecedented sense of contentment well up inside him. He remembered 3 years ago, when he was still a despised glutinous rice ball, with no girl willing to marry him. Now he has a wife, a daughter, and a warm home. He thought the heavens had been very good to him. 11 On his daughter's full-month celebration, the Jiyu residence hosted 3 days of banquets with continuous flow of dishes. Shen Huaijin came with his mother, who refused to let go of her granddaughter, tears welling in her eyes as she said, "This child really looks like Nian Sheng when she was young." Shen Huaijin stood to the side, watching his younger sister and her husband busily greeting guests, a faint smile at the corners of his mouth. Aunt arrived with the twins, now old enough to walk. They staggered about in the yard, chasing butterflies. Shen Huaijin followed behind to protect them from falling, sweating profusely. Jiyu Qingyuan stepped over and handed him a cup of tea. "Elder brother, you've worked hard." Shen Huaijin took the tea, took a sip, and suddenly said, "Qingyuan, thank you." Jiyu Qingyuan was taken aback. "What are you thanking me for? For making my sister live such a good life?" Jiyu Qingyuan smiled and said, "Big brother, you don't need to thank me. Being good to Nianxing is what I should do." Shen Huaijin looked at him for a long time, then reached out and patted him on the shoulder. "All right." 12 On the 100th day of the child, Shen Yanxing received a letter. The letter came from Daxia. The envelope bore no signature, but the handwriting was unfamiliar, yet intimate. When she opened the letter and read the first line, her hands trembled slightly. "Nian Sheng, I am Lin Jiao." The letter wasn't long. Lin Jiao wrote about her life in recent years. The emperor abdicated due to injuries, the crown prince ascended the throne, and she became Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager, the mother in the previous life, was confined in the cold palace. Day after day thinking of the name Yao Yao, Lu Xian was stripped of his title and exiled to the borderlands for the crime of wounding the former emperor, and was said to have died of illness on the way there. At the end of the letter, she wrote, "Nianxing, I'm sorry, and thank you." Shen Yanxing read the letter and was silent for a long time. Jiyu Qingyuan walked over, hugged her from behind, and rested his chin on her shoulder. "Whose letter? An old friend. What did he say?" "He said he's sorry." Shen Yanxing folded the letter and placed it in the drawer. "And thank you, Jiyu." Qingyuan didn't ask further, only held her a little tighter. Shen Yanxing leaned into his embrace, listening to his heartbeat, and felt that there were really no regrets left in this life. 13 When the daughter was 1 year old, she could walk. The little fellow was wobbling as she ran around the courtyard, the fat orange cat following behind her like a loyal guardian. Shen Yanxing sat on the veranda basking in the sun, stitching a small dress in his hands for his daughter. Jiyu Qingyuan returned from the Yamen, carrying a pack of Osman-thus cakes in his hand. Niansheng, I bought your favorite. Shen Niansheng looked up and smiled at his travel-worn appearance. You buy these every day. I'm getting fat from eating them. Being fat is good. Being fat is pretty. Shen Niansheng rolled his eyes at him, took the Osman-thus cake, pinched off a piece, and put it in his mouth. It was sweet. Just as sweet as when they ate at Qing'an Temple back then. Her daughter ran over, tugging at Shen Niansheng's skirt, in a milky voice calling, "Mama, Mama." Shen Niansheng crouched down, picked up his daughter, and gave her a kiss on the cheek. "Sweetie, call me Dad." The daughter turned her head, looked at Jiyu Qingyuan, blinked, then opened her arms and pounced. "Dad." Jiyu Qingyuan took his daughter into his arms, and his eyes immediately reddened. Shen Niansheng couldn't help but laugh at how pathetic he looked. "What are you crying for? It's not the first time she's called you Dad. I'm just happy." Jiyu Qingyuan buried his face in his daughter's little shoulder. "My daughter called me Dad. How could I not be happy?" Shen Niansheng shook his head and did not puncture him. The sun had set, and the afterglow spilled into the courtyard, tinting everything gold. The chubby orange cat lay on the steps, tail swishing back and forth. The garden was blooming with gardenias, the fragrance light and gentle. Shen Niansheng leaned against a pillar, watching her husband and daughter chase butterflies among the flowers, a slight smile curving at the corners of his mouth. She thinks, this is happiness. It's not a tumultuous romance, not earth-shattering promises, but someone buys Osman-thus cake for you every day, someone waits outside the door when you give birth, someone tucks you in when you fall asleep. It's the daughter's laughter, the chubby orange cat's purring, the fragrance of gardenia, the gold of the sunset. It's all of this. 14. After another few years, Shen Niansheng had a son, and Jiyu Qingyuan was so happy he looked like a fool. He picked up the son and turned him around in the courtyard 3 times, nearly making the baby dizzy. Shen Huaijin came to see his nephew, held him in his arms, and studied him for a long while, saying, "He looks like Niansheng." Jiyu Qingyuan leaned in to take a look and said, "Brother, I think he looks like me." "What do you mean by that? Do I look fat?" Jiyu Qingyuan was choked, and Shen Niansheng laughed so hard he could barely straighten up. Mother prepared a table full of dishes, and the whole family gathered around to eat. The fat orange cat crouched under the table, waiting for bones to drop. The daughter was already 4 years old, swinging her legs in the chair, muttering the poems she had learned in school today. Spring sleep, not knowing dawn, everywhere I hear birds singing. Shen Huaijin's daughter joined in, the 2 children reciting lines back and forth, chopping up the poem until it was barely recognizable. The adults laughed so hard they rocked back and forth. Shen Niansheng looked at the crowd around the table, and a wave of bitterness suddenly surged in her heart. She thought of her previous life, sitting alone in the Phoenix Palace, a table full of dishes laid out before her, yet she ate alone. The eunuchs and maids stood by, their faces blank, like wooden statues. Back then, she thought that was how her life would be, forever. Only now did she realize that a meal could be so lively, that when a family sits together, even plain white rice tastes sweet. 15. When her daughter turned 6, Shen Niansheng received a letter from Daxia. The letter was from the Empress Dowager, her handwriting trembling, as if her hand had been shaking. She wrote that she had been confined to the cold palace for many years, her health worsening by the day, and that she likely didn't have much time left. She had only one wish, to see Yaro Yaro one last time. Shen Niansheng held the letter and was silent for a long time. Jiyu Qingyuan asked her, "Are you going?" Shen Niansheng shook her head. "I'm not going." "Why?" "Because I'm not her Yaro Yaro anymore," Shen Niansheng said. "I am Shen Niansheng, Jiyu Qingyuan's wife, the mother of 2 children. I have my own home, my own family. Her Yaro Yaro died 10 years ago." Jiyu Qingyuan held her hand, and said nothing more. Shen Niansheng folded the letter and put it into the drawer, together with the memories from those years. She did not reply. 16. Many years passed again. Shen Niansheng's hair had turned white, his back hunched, but his spirit was still good, his eyes still bright. Jiyu Qingyuan was old too, his hair white, his back bent, but every day he still bought Osman-thus cakes for her and walked with her hand in hand in the courtyard. The daughter married someone, had a child, and lives next door, and she comes every day to visit them with the child. The son passed the imperial exam and became a scholar official in the Hanlin Academy. Only returning home during festivals and holidays, Shen Huijin became a minister and was swamped with work every day, but he would still set aside one day each month to visit his younger sister. He had aged, with more wrinkles on his face, but his eyes were still as bright as when he was young. Mother has gone. The day she left was very serene. Holding Shen Yanqing's hand, she said, "Yanqing, the most proud thing in my life is having you and your brother." Shen Yanqing cried all night. Jiyu Qingyuan stayed with her, not speaking, just holding her hand, tightly holding it. 17. The day Shen Yanqing left was a spring. Osmanthus blossoms were blooming just right, their fragrance filling the entire courtyard. She lay on the courtyard's rattan chair, covered with a thin blanket, holding Jiyu Qingyuan's hand. The sunlight fell on her, warm and cozy. Jiyu Qingyuan sat beside her, his eyes red, but he did not cry. "Nianxing," he called her name. She opened her eyes, looked at him, and smiled. "Qingyuan, I have to go now." "I know, don't be sad." "I'm not sad, Jiyu." Qingyuan said, "You go first, I'll be right behind you." Shen Yanqing smiled lightly, like the wind. "Qingyuan, thank you. What are you thanking me for?" "Thank you for walking with me for so many years." Jiyu Qingyuan's tears finally fell. "Nian Sheng, I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for being willing to marry me. Thank you for giving us 2 children, and thank you for showing me that living can be this happy." Shen Yanqing reached out and touched his face. "In the next life, I'll marry you again." "All right," Jiyu Qingyuan said. "In the next life, I'll find you earlier, so you won't have to wait." Shen Yanqing closed her eyes. With that smile still at the corner of her mouth, she walked very peacefully, as if asleep. Jiyu Qingyuan sat beside her, holding her hand, not letting go for a very long time. 18. The day Jiyu Qingyuan left was also in spring. The gardenias were blooming again, white as snow, with a faint fragrance. He lay in the wicker chair where Shen Yanqing once lay, holding the hairpin she had left behind. The sunlight fell on him, warm and gentle. His daughter knelt by the bed, weeping uncontrollably. His son stood at the door, eyes red, but he did not cry. Jiyu Qingyuan looked at them and smiled. "Don't cry anymore. Your mother doesn't like to see people cry." The daughter wiped her tears and nodded. "Dad, is there anything else you want to instruct?" Jiyu Qingyuan thought for a moment and said, "Bury me next to your mother. Plant a gardenia tree." She liked them. "All right." Jiyu Qingyuan closed his eyes, that faint smile still lingering at the corners of his mouth. He passed away peacefully, as if falling asleep. The daughter lay on him and cried for a very, very long time. 19. Many years later, the daughter had also grown old. Every spring, she would visit her parents' graves to pay her respects. The 2 graves stood side by side, with a gardenia tree planted between them. When it bloomed, the fragrance could drift very, very far. She sat in front of the grave, looking at the gardenia tree, and remembered how her mother used to plant flowers in the yard when she was a child. Her mother once said, "Gardenias are wonderful, pure white, neither competing nor contending, blooming quietly on their own." She didn't understand back then. Now she does. She stood up, brushed the dust off her robe, turned around, and walked away. Walked a few steps, then stopped, looked back once. The setting sun dipped west, its afterglow gilding the tomb, turning everything golden. The gardenia tree swayed gently in the wind, as if saying goodbye. She smiled, turned around, and strode away decisively. The wind blew from behind, carrying the scent of gardenia blossoms, just as it had long ago. End of extra.